Are you a sex addict and you're looking for ways to break the spell of sex addiction out of your life? Have you been battling sex addiction for years and years, maybe even decades, and you've been doing everything you can to stop acting out sexually and negotiating with your sex addiction to no avail? You haven't been able to stop, and you're at a point now where you are hopeless and exhausted and so tired of battling this sex addiction. Yet, sex addiction has a grip and a hold on you that makes you feel inferior and dirty and shameful, perhaps embarrassed if anybody knew exactly what you were doing or what you were involved with. Are you in excessive pornography and excessive masturbation? Are you involved in excessive cruising online and offline and you just can't stop? You want to stop so badly. You want to get in a healthy relationship, or you want to be a healthy, normal man. You look at other people out there that are thriving, successful, seemingly happy and peaceful, and you wish you were one of them, but yet you have this dark secret. You're addicted to sex. And to you, you just want to stop, and you haven't been able to yet. So you ask yourself this question: can I recover from sex addiction? And that is a very, very important question. And if you're here, it's probably because you are somewhat hopeless. You have tried over and over again and you feel there is no solution. Well, there is a solution. There is a way out. You can 100% recover from sex addiction. And I'm going to ask you 4 questions here in this video today, and you need to answer these 4 questions. And we're going to delve into these 4 questions today because it's going to help you to begin eradicating sex addiction out of your life. And if this is where you're at right now and you can understand what I'm talking about, please hit the thumbs up below and subscribe to my channel. Every Tuesday, I'm going to have a new video for you to help you eradicate sex addiction out of your life. And that is my mission, to help people like you that are battling with sex addiction to eradicate it, to break free and live as a healthy, thriving individual. So let's take a look at those quick 4 questions we have for you today, and then we're going to delve into them in just a moment. So we have question number 1. What is your sex addiction? Question number 2. What are your life patterns that feed your sex addiction? Question number 3. Do you know why you want to stop your sex addiction? And number 4, what will your life be like free from sex addiction? These 4 questions, when you answer them, you're going to have a better understanding of your sex addiction, why you want to stop. And that's going to be the beginning of your transformation and eradicating sex addiction out of your life. Now, obviously, you want to stop, but we want to be very clear when we answer that question of exactly why we want to stop, because there's always a payoff. When you act out sexually, there's a payoff. You're getting something out of it. And what we have to look at is, what exactly are you getting out of acting out sexually? What are you getting that you feel you won't get any other way? And that's kind of what sex addiction is. It's feeding you something you feel you're not going to get any other way. And it's very important to understand that you can be loved and nurtured, desired, wanted, and needed outside of sexual behaviors, outside of your sex addiction. But you have discovered a way to feel as though you're getting those needs met sexually. It's almost as if the wirings in the brain are misfiring. And to feel nurtured and wanted, desired, loved, and to feel good, you have to go do these things. Now, it is true that when you do act out, you do feel good. Why? It's very important to understand that you have tapped into your brain's chemicals that are released in the body that make you feel high. You get a high off certain sexual activities. And we're going to talk about that. And I want you to understand what's happening in your brain when it comes to sex addiction. So let's take a look at question number 1, because that's kind of answering, or it's going to kind of go in the area of answering what's happening in the brain with your sex addiction. So question number one is, what is your sex addiction? Now, I want you to understand that you're not addicted to sex, because you can have a relationship and normal, healthy sex and not necessarily be addicted to that. But you are addicted to sexual behaviors. Sex in itself is healthy. Sex in itself is God-given. It's a natural thing to want to be intimate with another human being on a sexual level. But as the sex addict, we take certain behaviors to another level. We take certain behaviors to an extreme. So again, you're not addicted to sex, you're addicted to sexual behaviors. And what is your sex addiction? Well, understand what behaviors you're addicted to. You may be addicted to pornography, addicted to masturbation, addicted to cruising, porn shops, cruising in parks. You may be addicted to Grindr. You may be addicted to going on Grindr all the time, and just the sound of somebody responding to you just gives you a high. You may feel as though you need to be validated, wanted, desired, needed. And when somebody wants you on Grindr, it makes you feel that way. Studies have shown, though, when people reject you and they ghost you on Grindr and these other various apps out there, that it almost hurts your self-esteem and hurts your confidence and makes you feel more lonely. So what we have to do is understand what our sex addiction behaviors are, to have a clear understanding of what my sex addiction is or what your sex addiction is. So again, what is your sex addiction? And what you should do right now while you're watching this video, you can hear me while you do it, get a pen and piece of paper and write down what behaviors you're addicted to. Because again, you're not addicted to sex. Everybody has their quote unquote drug of choice when it comes to what they're addicted to sexually. Even drug addicts, they have a drug of choice. I was a meth addict for a couple of years. I was smoking almost every day, and that was part of my sex addiction because methamphetamine fed my sex addiction. And if I didn't have meth, I had alcohol. That fed my sex addiction. My inhibitions were lowered, and I would do crazy things to get a high and a fix off my sexual behavior. So come to understand, what exactly are you addicted to sexually, so you know what your patterns are. You know what your sex addiction is. You need to come and understand that your brain becomes a drug manufacturing machine. You've actually tapped into chemicals from the brain being released when you get into what sexual behaviors you're addicted to. Now, if you're addicted to pornography, and you're watching pornography for hours and hours and hours, you're probably watching more exciting pornography, darker pornography, more twisted pornography to get more of that fix. So you'll hold off your orgasm during masturbation till you get that one video that's just going to spark you to such an extreme high, so the orgasm feels even better. Perhaps part of your sex addiction, and when it comes to pornography and masturbation, is poppers. Inhaling those poppers to get an extra high off the pornography and your orgasm. So that may be what you're addicted to. Cruising in parks releases a lot of dopamine in the brain and makes you feel good and makes you feel high. Did you ever go do a sexual activity and your body actually starts shaking as you're on your way somewhere to act out sexually? Actually get that body starts shaking because your adrenaline is being released. So you're actually getting addicted to chemicals released out of your brain. So you're becoming somewhat of a drug addict from your own brain chemicals. Your brain is now a drug manufacturing machine. So not only are you addicted to the high that comes from the sex act itself, you're actually addicted to the chemicals your brain is releasing while you're involved in these sexual behaviors. So as you break free from the grip of sex addiction, from your behaviors that you're addicted to, once you break free, you are going to go through a level of withdrawal. Similar to those that are drug addicted that stop using the drugs. They go through the sweats and the insomnia and the anxiety. They go through withdrawal symptoms where they may feel sick or more depressed, more anxious, moody, more angry. So these personality traits may take place as you break free from those behaviors you're addicted to. So by now, as you were listening, I'm hoping that you did write down the behaviors you're addicted to, because then you come to understand your sex addiction, because it's different than mine. It's different than someone else's. Now you know what your sex addiction is. You have a list. These are the things I'm addicted to. So let's take a look at question number 2 now. What are your life patterns that feed your sex addiction? So, what are patterns? If you take a look at things that are happening in your life that lead up to you acting out sexually. Now, it could be going on the computer before you go to bed. If you go on the computer after 9 o'clock at night, what happens? You tend to start watching pornography. And then what happens from that? You tend to open up your phone now and go on Grindr. And then what happens after that? You invite someone over, you go to someone's house. Then what happens? Now you might do some poppers or perhaps some drugs. Then you wind up going to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then what? Then you wake up at 6:30 in the morning for work and you're exhausted the next day. All because you went on the computer at 10 o'clock. You promised yourself you weren't going to act out tonight, but you went on the computer and it all just went from there. So take a look at the patterns in your life that happen that lead to acting out those sexual behaviors. Sometimes you might go to the beach or the gym and see someone that you're attracted to. And then in your brain, you fantasize you might find that person on Grindr. So then what happens now, because you're thinking about it and fantasizing about it, you go on Grindr. Now, you're not going to find him, but now you might find 20 other guys you want to hook up with. And then before you know it, your dinner plans with your friends are canceled, and an early night at bed is now over, and you're off to the races. Perhaps you go on the computer at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you say to yourself, well, what if I just go on real quick, just take one quick look at Pornhub or thisvid.com, and I'm going to take a quick look, just 5 minutes. 2 hours go by. It's now 5 o'clock, and you missed going to the gym and meeting your friends there. Do you understand patterns? You have to take a look at the patterns in your life that lead to you acting out those behaviors sexually. So learn your patterns. Learn what is taking place that leads to you acting out. Do you go to the sex club? So Smith Street is where the sex club is. So although you can go anywhere you want, you wind up going towards Smith Street because that's the 7-Eleven you're going to go get your iced tea at, right at the corner of where the sex club is down the road. So going to Smith Street may be one of your patterns that leads you to go to the sex club. And then you'll be there all night long. Once you start, you're off to the races, right? It's not like you can have a little bit. You know the saying, one is too many, 1,000's not enough. 1 minute of pornography means 1,000 minutes is not enough. One hookup, well, then you're off to the races, and 1,000 hookups isn't enough. So understand your patterns. And what this does is it starts to put your sex addiction in order. Okay, these are the behaviors I'm addicted to. These are the patterns that I have that lead to my acting out behaviors. So let's continue this now in question number 3. Do you know why you want to stop your sex addiction? Do you know why you want to stop your sex addiction? Well, the obvious reason is you want to stop because you're not happy. But let's be very specific of why you want to stop acting out sexually. What are the consequences? And now list the consequences that are happening in your life because of your sex addiction. What are the consequences? Isolation, loneliness, secrecy, shame, guilt, inferiority, feeling dirty, hopelessness, living in the darkness, wearing masks, being fake, lying, cheating. Okay, I think I named just about 10. So maybe you have a bunch more. Those are just the ones I'm thinking of off the top of my head because that's what I can relate to. Why do you want to stop your sex addiction? Because you don't like those feelings. You don't want to be there anymore. Why do you want to stop your sex addiction? Because honestly, it doesn't feel good. You get a high off it, you get a fix off it. But does it really feel good when you go to bed at night and you're laying on your pillow? Do you really feel good? Or is there something deep down inside? See, what happens is we start to live in a world of denial and we start not to face the truth that I'm miserable because of my sex addiction. I am unhappy. I live a life in secrecy and isolation and loneliness. And I'm a cheater and I'm a liar. Face the truth. The hardest thing for anyone to do is face the truth about themselves. The hardest thing for you may be to face the truth about yourself. But here you are with me today, and you're starting to take a deeper look at your sex addiction. And I want you to face the truth. Yes, you are a sex addict. Yes, you are addicted to certain behaviors. Yes, there are patterns to those behaviors. And yes, those behaviors make you feel this way. That's why you want to stop your sex addiction. And that'll lead us right into question number 4 that you need to answer. And this question number 4 is what's going to give you the vision and give you the hope that there is another way to do this living. There is another way, another design to live a beautiful life. And please believe me, you can live a beautiful life. You are worth it. You are lovable and you're wonderful and you are beautiful and you deserve to be loved. You're wanted. You deserve to be nurtured in a healthy way. You deserve that. You believe you're getting some of that through your acting out behaviors, but you're not. You're falling apart. You're sad. You're depressed. You're isolating. You're detached from the world. And you don't deserve that. So I want you to create a vision for yourself. And you're going to create that vision with question number 4. What will your life be like free from sex addiction? Can you see it? Can you imagine your life free from sex addiction? Hanging out with friends and going to the coffee shop and hitting the beach and gardening and going on vacation, being honest and sincere in a monogamous relationship with you are where you are a man with dignity and integrity. You're loyal. People trust you. You're honest. No more masks. No more inferiority. No more lying and deceiving and cheating. No more looking over your head, hoping that nobody saw what you did or nobody remembers what you did last weekend. Just living a life where you feel clean and whole and connected. Maybe in a relationship, if you have one, where you feel loved, and a relationship that's loyal, a relationship with you're an honest man, when you can look in the mirror and absolutely love who you see. When you look in your eyes, you love who you see. Can you see yourself really loving yourself deeply? Can you see yourself really liking who you are and becoming your best friend? These are the benefits of what your life will be like free from sex addiction. And that freedom is available to you. These 4 questions that you answered for yourself tonight is the beginning of understanding you, understanding your sex addiction, facing the truth about yourself, and creating a vision of hope that you can have a life that's wonderful, that's free from sex addiction.